Hi, mamas. Hey, it's Rose, and today is Wednesday. I'm coming to you as promised from the mailer that you got this week. If you're not on the mailer list, please either add your email in the comments under this video, or I will add a link to that. But that mailer summarizes some of the stuff that we're talking about in this group, because I know that Facebook can be very glitchy and also hard to find stuff. So I'm highlighting in that mailer what we're talking about here, but I'm also adding some content that you can bring back into the group, right? So as promised in the mailer, I talked about the worthiness protocol. And for any of you who didn't read it, I created this because I feel like we as a group, in this Mothers Making Time group, we as mothers in general need to be reminded of our worthiness. Our culture has no structure for that really outside of the workforce. And then if you're a working mom, you get really lost in the mom guilt. If you're how about this? If you're a non-paid working mom, which is what Tiffany Dufu calls stay-at-home moms, because that's a lot of work, but we don't get paid for it. So I think all of us, no matter whether we're pursuing a career path or we're pursuing the primary caregiver path, face struggles with worthiness. And the reason why is because there's never enough stuff that you can have or you can do in the lens of our culture to be worthy. I hate that that's the truth, but it's where we are right now, and it's sticky, right? Like, I think that's why a lot of us are here in this group, is because we want to find that inside of us, that sense of worth, that sense of belonging. That doesn't have to do with our achievement list. It doesn't have to do with how great our children are or look. It doesn't have to do with anything else outside of knowing who we are and knowing the truth of being human, which is you belong, right? I've been reading this book. It's called, oh goodness, I didn't prepare for this part, but it's called Woman, An Intimate Geography by Natalie. I can't remember her last name at the moment. And she talks about, and I've heard this talked about in other places too, about just the sheer physics and amazingness that is being alive, right? That is like, the chances are so vast that we wouldn't be here. So we're here. And what does that mean? It means that we are here for a purpose that isn't about how much we make, that isn't about how many likes we have. Like, it doesn't have to do with anything that this kind of cultural premise of worthiness tends to lay on us. So the worthiness protocol is something that I actually created for myself. I'm creating all of this for myself because I've needed something other than just like occasional reassurance that I'm doing okay from like myself, or, just seeing that. I've needed something to like bind me back to my truth, because I don't have a successful business right now, right? Like, my business is, I work for maybe 5 hours a week, and I actually haven't had a client in a couple of months, maybe just a month, but not a like routine thing. So it's kind of this weird time for me. And I realized again, I was reminded again that I've been hinging and hitching my worthiness onto being successful in my business. And so I'm totally rewriting that. And the worthiness protocol was created from this time where I was like, what can I do to ground myself out of this anxious place into myself a little bit more, right? Out of the anxiety that's like grasping things that aren't graspable, basically. So the worthiness protocol, it's a really simple thing that I think I want to be the container for where we all come from in this group. So we can always go back to this. Like, if we're having some struggles, if we're seeking some support and help, the protocol will be like, okay, where are you with that? How can you go through the protocol and then come to another place with our struggles, right? With your struggles. So there are 3 P's of the worthiness protocol. And you can have this as a printout too. I'll make sure to add the text in this group. But over time you'll remember it, I think. So the 3 P's are presence, pace, and perspective. Presence, pace, and perspective. So even right now, as I say those things, what comes up for you? Presence, pace, and perspective. Presence is the first part of the protocol, first thing to ask yourself to remind yourself of your worthiness. So here are the questions that I have about presence that you can ask yourself. You can also ask yourself other things about presence and being present. But the first question is, am I here or am I wishing I'm somewhere else? So with that, it's that how present are you in your life, right? And as mothers, I think the subtitle or the title B for this group for a little while was Mother Dreamers, because I think that's also a thing we have in common, that we dream a lot because we want things for our children, ourselves, and for the future. But it also, that can take us out of the present moment. So it's like the question of am I here or wishing I'm somewhere else can root you back into yourself, right? If you're wishing you're somewhere else, you're not here. The next question is, how can I focus on my breath to bring me back to the moment, to this moment? Breath is everything, y'all. I hate to say that because I actually have gotten really far away from breath work and from meditation and from any stillness work that I have learned over the years, because I have gotten away from a lot of my practices. And I think that's good. Sometimes we need to pulse in and out of doing it, but just centering on your breath, looking at how you can bring yourself back to the present moment through breathing, through a few still breaths. So let's just go ahead and do it, right? Let's go ahead and do this as a group. So how can I use my breath to bring me back to presence? So just wherever you are and however you may be right now, take a moment and notice your breath. Do a few rounds of noticing your breath. Don't try to control it or change it. Just notice it. I notice within myself in this moment that my breath is a bit shallow. What do you notice? How can you be with it and also reclaim some time to yourself through your breath, okay? I am more than happy to also add, I have a downloadable meditation for some of my clients. I've done it in the past, so I'm happy to add that. If anybody wants that, just shout out. I'll send it to you, because meditation is really important when focusing on presence. So the next thing is pace. So we've been through presence. It's presence, pace, and perspective. So now we're at pace. How fast or slow am I going? I find that worthiness, when I'm caught in this loop of a faster pace or a pace that seems out of rhythm with where I am, I get really caught in needing approval from outside stuff. So pace is huge because it's all about coming back to where you are, coming back to the body. That's why we do presence first, so that you can kind of sink into yourself, breathing, and then notice, how am I existing in this moment, and what do I feel like doing, and then what am I doing, right? I'm going to stop here and say, this idea can be very irritating when you're a mother, especially a mother of young children, because I know I have a 3-year-old. I don't want to be doing a lot of the things that we end up doing when I'm say I'm on my luteal phase or about to bleed. I don't want to do much, right? So the pace is not always ours to change, right? At this point in my life, I'm nurturing another life. It's not, my pace isn't really mine completely, but how can I make it mine? How can I spin it a little bit to make it into something I'm owning and something I'm grateful for? And just even that alone, that stopping can be huge in evaluating the pace of your life, right? Again, I think this goes back to linking into where you are, what you feel like doing, what you feel like you should be doing, and then coming back to yourself and saying, okay, if I'm not doing anything, if I'm not producing a lot, and I'm listening to my body and listening to my soul and my inner voice, then I'm doing all right, right? The worthiness is there. Perspective is our next one. So this kind of, I feel like, flips the worthiness as what we're doing on its head. Because if you can take a moment to think about how far you've come in your life, you will be brought to your knees. I'm going to tell you this, y'all. I have worked with probably around 20 to 30 women in coaching, mentoring situations at this point in my life. Many of them returned for many years. And every one of them have a story that just blows me away, right? It's not special to anybody else. Like, it's not like the public figures have a story that's interesting and yours isn't. I just want to remind you that, because the growth and the change and the evolution and the shit you end up experiencing in your life is huge, and it shapes you, and I want you to just take a moment to honor it. It's a big thing to go through in your life, any of it, right? So if you can have some perspective on how far you've come, then you won't get wrapped in the needing to know if you're doing okay, because you'll know that your entire path has brought you to this moment, and that's enough, right? That means you're here, you're with what's happening, and then that stillness, then that inner knowing can really come forth, bubble forth, right? Protocol in this overarching meaning is like, it is something that kind of brings people back to their roles. I think it's kind of a legal-ish word, but I want you to think of it as something that, like, I'm doing this because it does feel like we're swooping back into our center. The worthiness protocol can be whatever you want it to be, but these are some guidelines to remind you in the moments that you're getting caught up out in the outside world stuff, bringing it back to yourself, right? Bringing it back to knowing that you're worthy because you're here. Okay, loves, let me know what resonates with you from this. I hope that things get posted. Today, Facebook has been very glitchy, and sometimes I love that. But let me know where you feel like you are with the worthiness protocol and how you feel like it's going to help you with your life, because you deserve that.